What's up guys, it's BT here, and this is the second installment of Mousepads you need to know about. We've got a lot of dope Mousepads on the list today, any of which I could say could be my main. Alright, I just want to throw that out there right now before we get started. So let's not waste any more time with the intro. Let's get started with the first mousepad on the list, the Aqua Control 2. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know this name, alright? It was one of my favorite mousepads, especially for a game like Valorant. There was one downside to that pad, which was, you know, the coating, which after a couple of months you get a slowdown. Well, now X-Ray Pad has learned. They're back with an updated, uncoated version of this mousepad. Now they've taken away the coating and they've kept the abundance in material, which is more resistant against abrasions than its cloth counterparts. It's gonna last you a lot longer than the Plus, so if you love the Plus, but that was one negative for you, you're gonna love the Aqua Control 2. Now, if that wasn't enough to convince you, it does come in a bunch of different sizes, and the pricing is actually really good, anywhere from $13 up to $31 for the biggest size. So it's a great budget option for those of you guys on a budget. Another cosmetic change they've made was in the design. Now, instead of that groovy colorway that they had last time, they now have that nice Japanese Sakura type design with the flowers and mountains. I personally like the look of this. It reminds me of a design that you get during a keyboard group buy drop, but with the added functionality of it being actually good for gaming. Now the stitches have seen some improvement. They're a little bit flatter now along the edges, and it's a little bit softer, way more comfortable than the original one. Now as for the performance, one thing that I really loved about the original was the micro adjusting ability. Being able to do those small micro flicks to get the headshots. And I gotta say, after playing around with this one for some time, the same holds true here. It's an exceptional pad for games like Valorant and CSGO still, and because it's good for micro adjustments, that also means that it's really good for tracking and being able to switch directions to mimic your opponent's movements. So I can definitely recommend this as an all-arounder pad for Apex and Call of Duty. Next up, we have another mouse pad from a company we haven't heard from in quite some time. Even though they've been dropping mouse pads consistently, it's kind of hard to keep up. And this is none other than Esport Tiger and their new Wujiang pad. It comes in these three beautiful designs, and they also have a black version for those of you who like to lead a boring life. I'm just kidding, you're fun. I believe you, you're fun. Okay, so so obviously I'm just joking. The black version does have a little bit of difference from the other ones, as it's slightly slower, so that'll offer you a little bit more control. So if you're worried about this pad being too fast, go with the black version. Now Wujiang really stood out to me because it's so different than anything else that I've ever tried. It's using a rainbow film top that not only gives it a shimmer when you roll it onto your desk, but it also provides a unique gliding experience. The only thing I can really compare it to would be like a Glorious Ice or Artisan Shinkai, but without the shards sticking into your hand, of course. Man, you guys remember those days? Now Glorious was able to fix that with their pad, the ice, but it just wasn't durable enough. You get those slow spots, and although this one doesn't have glass like those, it still gives a similar feeling. Now the Wujiang feels like the next evolution to those pads. They've also done a lot of stress testing on this. I believe they did a 45 kilometer test on it, and it held up. And when it did change the speed, it actually got faster, not slower. So very interesting there. And during my time with it, it's been spectacular in terms of durability. Now the one thing that I will say about this is you will need an arm sleeve for this one. I don't care what you say. If you have sweaty arms, or if you live in a more hotter climate, best believe your arm is going to be sticking to this pad. You've been warned, okay? Just become one of us. Become an arm sleeve gamer. Wouldn't even have to worry about it. Now, as mice have been getting lighter and lighter, I think myself and plenty of you just prefer control at this point. And for me to really like this pad, it has to be something special, which it is. It glides like butter, the dynamic friction is close to none, but the stopping power is really nice on this. It adds nice stability for your flicks. You won't get that jittery feeling at the end of your shot where you have to try to stabilize it and use a bunch of muscles. Then you're gonna get tired. It's just a mess, okay? When you use super glides on the Wujiang, it's a lot faster than your normal PTFE feed. As seen here, when I throw the final mouse, which is a lighter mouse, it goes not as far as a heavier mouse with those super glides on it. Now you can really use this for any game, but it leans towards tracking games like Apex and Call of Duty. But I did find some success in Valorant. Honestly, it's just a fun pad to use overall and to have in your collection. This is one of the fastest pads on the list for you today, for all you speed demons out there. But like I said, it's truly something that's hard to explain and that you just have to try for yourself. If you've been using the same cloth pad, or if you feel like mouse pads have been boring, check out this freaking pad from Esport Tiger, the Wujiang. All right, so I dropped a video on the channel not too long ago on my favorite 3 mouse pads, and one of them was the Vaxi PA. Now they're back with a black version of the pad. Seems a bit boring, but you know what, there is quite a difference. The base is still one of the best in the business. This thing does not move at all. You can, you know, rub your finger on it. You can just kind of tell it's that same one that Zowie is using. Now the surface isn't heat pressed like the original, more of a control pad. It almost feels like a true GSR SE replacement, but you know, without that coating that's gonna wear down. It's gonna be crap after a couple months. Now, one thing this also has over the GSR SE is that the price is cheaper, about $7 cheaper. So, you know, you can go buy some bubble gum, or if you're in California, that's like a gallon of gas right now. Hey, every little bit counts. It also doesn't have stitches for those of you guys who are sensitive to stitch edges, and this one seems to be doing a lot better than the original Vaxi PA in terms of wear on the edges of the pad. This is a great pad if you want something more closer to the control side, because this isn't heat pressed and it's more of that classic cloth pad. The durability isn't going to be as good as the hybrid polyester pads, and of course that new rainbow film pad. So just keep that in mind. Even though Vaxi does make some of the best pads in the business, it has a good amount of dynamic friction and a whole lot of static friction for those flicks. I probably would only be using this for a game like Valorant or CSGO. Probably wouldn't do it for like an Apex or a track heavy game, but that's just me. Next up, we have another pad, or pads, which is a part of the collaboration between Kovacs, the popular aim trainer, and Esport Tiger. This is a 2-for-1 because after using both the Chaos and the Target, I gotta say that both of these are legit mouse pads, both of which are control pads, but very different in nature and have some unique things that separate them. Now the Chaos has a water eluting technology to maintain the quality after washing, something that I've never seen before. Haven't tested that yet, but I kind of trust them. I want to get it to that point where it needs to be washed before I actually, you know, see if the consistency stays the same. But if it does, that'll be actually truly groundbreaking. Chaos has the approved plus base, and the Target has their normal base. Now you guys know my desk gives the mouse pads the hardest time when trying to stay in place. This is no different. It struggled on my desk, but I do like that they are experimenting with new bases. The stitch edges are really good on this. I did have some issues with the mouse pad laying completely flat on the pad near the right side, but it did lay down after a while. Target has more of a textured feel to it, almost like a hen, and I thought it would be a lot faster than the Chaos. Now I love the stitch edges on this pad because they're flush with the pad, very comfortable to use. To sum up these two pads, get the Chaos if you want a comfortable control pad. Emphasis on comfortable, especially if you're laying your arm on the pad. It feels amazing. And this is probably the slowest on the list in terms of dynamic friction. It also has quite a bit of static friction for stability. I'd probably use this pad for Valorant and CSGO. The Target is more on the control side, but it is faster than the Chaos. The texture is going to make it great for those little micro flicks, very similar to the Aqua Control 2, but this is just a little bit better for tracking, making it better for Apex and Call of Duty. Overall, if I can get one, I'd probably get the Target, as it feels like a Heian copy, but it's actually a little bit slower. So it's a very interesting pad. All right, so that's gonna do it for the Kovacs pad. Last but not least, we have the GameSense Radar. This mouse pad has been out for a while. I just never covered it. All right, my bad. Ayo, my fault. So we got to make up for some lost time. Comes in some nice colors and an extra large or a large. Pricing is pretty good. The sizing is a little bit bigger than normal. 500 by 500 for the large, 1000 by 500 for the XL desk mat. Now I've seen this pad be called a control pad, but the dynamic friction is really good for tracking. Call me crazy, but it doesn't feel like a control pad or like a true mud pad, okay? Maybe I'm just coming from some higher dynamic and static friction pads, but this one feels like butter when I'm moving across it. I think when people are saying this is a control pad, they're talking about the static friction, because when you're at rest, there is quite a bit of static friction. So it's gonna benefit people who are doing a lot of flicking and need to be accurate. Now, one thing this pad could do better is the stitching. It's a little bit too big for my liking, and I wish it was a little bit flatter. I do love that the surface isn't coated. The base does move around a little bit. This is definitely another pad worth checking out, especially if you want something more on the control side. Now, we saw a lot of control pads today, and it's starting to sound the same. So I want to give you guys my top recommendations, and of course, if you already have some of the other pads, why not check out some of the other pads on the list? That goes without saying. Now, my top recommendation out of the bunch would be the Wujiang, because it's not only unique, but the performance is amazing with an arm sleeve. And of course, that's on the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to speed. My next recommendation would probably be the GameSense Radar. It's not perfect, but it's got that unique weave on it that just makes it slightly different than other pads. And the durability on it is really good. All right, so those are the mouse pads you guys need to know about. It has been your boy BT. If you have any more questions about what pad to get, if anything was unclear, there, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be sure to help you guys out. I'll be down there answering questions. All right. Did I say peace yet? Peace.